GeoGeeks, our regular segment where we bring in some subject matter experts to tell us what's new and interesting in one of our ArcGIS core products.
Indeed, and we have saved the ArcGIS Pro GeoGeek, our best GeoGeek, for last. Allison O'Brien is an ArcGIS support consultant and also happens to be a tech support bestie with Maggie, and she is joining us today from Ottawa. Hello, Allison. Welcome to the pod.
Hi, thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yay.
Yeah, thanks, Allison. Like Mark said, Allison and I are besties from my tech support days, and she's still holding down the fort there, making sure our clients have everything working as expected in ArcGIS Pro. So, Allison, as it's your first episode with us today, we want to know what makes you a geek for ArcGIS Pro.
Yeah, I've been supporting ArcGIS Pro with our clients for about 4 years, but I've been using the software since 2016. So I've loved seeing all of the improvements that have been made throughout the years. But my favorite part about ArcGIS Pro is the user interface. So specifically the ribbon at the top of the application, it organizes all the tools so elegantly. The best part about that ribbon is that it's pretty intuitive. So it responds to what you're trying to do. So a little example of this would be that when you select a layer in your contents pane, some additional tabs will appear at the top that helps you work with that specific layer. So I love ArcGIS Pro. It's a great product. Love supporting our clients with it.
It is really great. Those ribbons are a lifesaver, aren't they? It just makes everything so easy and intuitive. It's the best. All right, so I know we've been talking a bit about the user conference throughout the pod and the UC plenary this summer. They highlighted a lot of exciting new features that have come out with ArcGIS Pro's newest release, 3.1. So maybe give us a little highlights of some of the things that you noticed about what's new in ArcGIS Pro.
Yeah, definitely. I'll go over a couple. So some really cool new features are the scale-based label sizing. So this means that you can adjust the size of text symbols used for labeling dynamically across their visible scale range. So this helps reduce visual density at smaller scales while retaining an appropriate relative size at larger scales. So the difference in label text size, it's quite subtle, but this definitely helps the visual aspect of your maps. So a little quick note about this tool is that scaling properties tend to be different between maps. Scale-based label settings are not preserved when the symbol is saved to a style. And then another one I'd love to talk about is called Calculate Composite Index, and it's available with your basic, standard, or advanced license type. This tool combines multiple numeric variables to create one single index. So for those of you who don't know, an index is a number that measures a subjective interest. This is often something that's difficult to directly measure or define. So an example would be like social vulnerability. So this tool, it follows a 3-step workflow, which is pre-process the variables, combine the variables, and then post-process the index. So a little bit of an example of how this tool can be used would be for an environmental protection department. So let's say they would like to create an air quality index to inform the public about pollution. So they would collect data from monitoring stations corresponding to specific pollutants like carbon monoxide. And then an analyst can run the Calculate Composite Index tool to combine the individual pollutant indicators into one single air quality index. So I have a feeling this tool will definitely help our users.
Yeah, for sure. That tool is really exciting to me. I actually just recently got a chance to try it out, and it's a huge time saver for anyone who's dealing with a lot of different features. So thanks for sharing that with our users. Another thing that we noticed a lot of talk about and a lot of push for during the plenary was this new catalog layers. I've heard a lot about it, but I'm still not 100% sure exactly what that is. Could you tell us a little bit more about what catalog layers are?
Definitely. We're really excited about catalog layers. So a catalog layer is a collection of item references to local, shared datasets, layers and services, and workspaces. So this would be data from various environments. It's used to visualize and explore items as an organized group of layers, but based on the extent of a view. So a catalog dataset is created and stored in a geodatabase, and it establishes item references with the data that it includes. So I'd like to simplify this a little bit more. We have this great analogy. So your catalog dataset is a file cabinet. Each item reference to a dataset, feature class, or service, for example, is a file in that cabinet. So you will frequently pull out the files you want to see, and the ones that you don't need right now are put in the back of the cabinet, but they're still in the cabinet. So when you zoom in on your map or out on your map, specific files in your cabinet will be pulled in or pulled out. Does that kind of make sense?
That actually helps a lot with that analogy and that visualization, because I was trying to picture in my mind, how did this actually work? But I love that whole filing cabinet scenario. That makes a lot of sense. I'm really curious about how users would work with catalog layers. So do you happen to have a use case where you've actually seen these in action?
Yeah, for sure. So I've seen users work with catalog layers, for example, in like a disaster response project. So the data in these types of projects are constantly evolving, and the data is typically coming from different groups, different organizations, and in different formats. So there's a lot of data for these types of response projects, and they're not necessarily covering the exact same footprint. So using catalog layers in their ArcGIS Pro project, users are able to visualize the large amounts of data in their projects in a very organized way.
Wow, definitely a super useful tool, especially for people with dealing with huge amounts of data. Thanks so much for explaining it a little bit more for us, because it is kind of complicated, but it makes a lot more sense when you think of it in that file cabinet frame. So thanks for sharing it like that with us, and definitely going to help out a lot of our users. So we've heard a couple of the new features and some of the ones at the plenary, but there's a lot of new stuff in Pro 3.1. And is there anything that really stands out to you as your personal favorite that you're sort of excited to get using?
Yes, I would definitely say that my new favorite feature is pie charts. So, because I work in support services, I get to interact with end users and discuss what they think is missing in the software or what they'd really like to have introduced. And pie charts was definitely high on that list. So, I know that this is definitely going to be used a lot by our end users. So, I'm very happy for them.
Oh man, I love pie charts. I love pie. So it's a perfect tool. I love it. Fantastic. Well, that's amazing. Thank you so much, Allison, for sharing a lot of information about ArcGIS Pro 3.1 and about catalog layers. And hopefully this will inspire our listeners to give them a try. So thank you for coming on to the pod, and we can't wait to have you back to talk more ArcGIS Pro.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
That was Allison O'Brien, ArcGIS support consultant with Esri Canada. She joined us today from Ottawa.